Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine, and today we are welcomed by Matthias. How we doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on this. I've been really looking forward to this podcast for a while.
Thank you. I know it's been something we've been trying to put together for quite some time, and work's been working against me. But now we're here, and I'm excited. I've been looking at your stuff, watching your stuff, looking at the stats. You've done made quite the impression in the last 4 or so years.
Yeah, I've been pushing hard because, I want this and I want it right now. I don't want it tomorrow. I want it immediately. So I'm pushing fast and hard as I can. Sleep is not required, but coffee is.
I like it. Before we dive into your wrestling journey, maybe even what got you like into this as a fan, would you like to shout out your social medias and even upcoming events you got leading into the end of the year, going into the beginning of next year, just to let the fans know where they can check out the latest Matthias news?
Yes, absolutely. So the place to follow me is at Mathias Wrestles on everything, all social medias, Instagram, Facebook, the TikTok, the tweeters, the YouTubes. I have all that stuff hooked up at the same social media handle at Mathias Wrestles. It's all linked up in any place you go to. It's all linked to my link tree, so that'll send you everywhere you need to be, and you can just follow along the journey. Like it. I kind of live day by day at this point because I got so much going on that I've kind of like check and keep rechecking what I have. But yeah, I mean, I'll be at Raw on Monday, so maybe keep an eye out for me on that. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll see me at Survivor Series. But I got a lot going on coming up, and local shows will start back up around January. But yeah, you just follow along the journey on my social media, and that's everything you need.
Okay. So, I mean, you hit us with a little teaser. You might be on Raw. There's a chance. It's in the area. You could be at Survivor Series. One of my questions is, what does a day in wrestling look like when you're doing like the extra work or security work for a company like WWE or AEW?
Well, it kind of depends. Like if it's nearby, like one is in Anaheim or San Diego here, it's not too hard of a day. 'Cause, you show up for the Pacific Coast. The time they have you show up is 11 a.m. That's kind of our call time. You show up there, you go and hand in your paperwork, you get your wristbands, so they make sure that you can stay in the building and they don't kick you out because that does happen. If you show up and you are not welcome, I assure you, they will kick you out and you will not be welcome back ever again. So don't show up. Just a reminder: don't show up unless you've been invited. That should be clear, but apparently it was not. So now people know. After you turn in paperwork, you go to medical, get checked out because they're very thorough. They make sure everyone is cleared, have all their T's crossed, I's dotted. Everything has to be clear before you can do anything on camera or physical. Like they really take care of their superstars. That's a big thing that I've noticed is like they really care. After that, you just kind of hang out and see what happens. Sometimes, you just sit and stand there and see the backstage area for 12 hours. And sometimes a couple weeks ago, we had William Regal talk to us for an hour and a half, which was like he's just giving us gold for 90 minutes of just not even having us ask questions. He's just talking. He knows what we want to know. Like, how do we get there? What are the things that everyone's really looking for? What does it take to become a WWE superstar or be on XT or anything? So, like, he was just talking to us as much time as he had. And when he first sat down, he was like, I don't know when I'm going to be called away. It could be in 5 minutes. It could be in an hour. But let me just talk to you guys and share some knowledge. So that was pretty cool. Like I said, sometimes you're just sitting there and nobody talks to you because they got so much stuff going on. This this last Friday they had two tapings of SmackDown that they were doing. So like they were doing so much. They used us for a lot of things and like a lot of backstage scenes and things. But usually they finish all the pre-tapes kind of like before the show. But this one they were doing it before the show, during the show, maybe even after. Like they were filming all day long for the 2 weeks worth of stuff to fit in their 4 hours that they have there. So uh, if it's a travel day, it's quite a bit different. Like I said, usually there from 11 a.m. until about 8:30 was when the show kind of ends. But for a travel day, like I went to Denver for this SmackDown. You fly out there, get a red eye flight from like I think it was like midnight to 2:30 a.m. or something like that. Then you have to kind of wait in the airport, so you're not staying out in the cold for a while. Get your Uber on over to the venue, about 45-minute drive there. Then you get inside, and since it's a Midwest taping, I think the call time for us there was noon. But it's the same sort of thing. You go from noon to 9:30, and you're just there. Sometimes you're in catering, sometimes you're out in the bowl, kind of just learning. You're there just to learn and see who you can talk to. And I've been really lucky the last couple of times that I've got to meet not just like superstars, but the backstage hands, like the people that, like the stunt coordinator, like great guy, even has his son there working and teaching him the next steps. And they have a lot of information too, because a lot of them used to be workers, independent wrestlers just like us, and they would do this backstage work for WWE. And just kind of like see how everything works. And they use the talents that they have in their regular day jobs or something and be like, hey, like, yeah, I want to wrestle for you, but I can still do this for you as well. So like, how can I be here? Because that's the important thing, is like, how can you just be there, be in front of everyone's face, be able to see and be recognized by all these superstars. Not that we're up there having, long conversations with everyone like Charlotte Flair or Braun Breaker or anything. Like, they're nice and they're cordial. Everyone's nice and professional, but like, they're at work, they're a job. You show up to, some corporate building or something. Like, even when you go there, like, you can't just stand around and have conversations with people that are like busy, like they're doing work. So when you show up here, yeah, you might be a fan and like all these people, but it's not the time to have your, 1 hour long conversation with them, because they're at work and they're doing stuff. There's not a lot of sit around time. So I mean, I can't tell you everything that we do in the day, but for the most part, it's pretty general. Show up, turn your stuff, get checked by medical, and then stand around, watch, and learn. Talk to whoever you can that's not busy, and see what you can learn from them.
Okay. Do you have a favorite moment that you've been a part of while doing that kind of work?
yeah. Yeah, uh, it's a little bit hard to choose a favorite moment, because like, there's always different stages. I've been to backstage at Raw, backstage at SmackDown, and the first one I ever did was actually WrestleMania this last year. And it's hard to beat WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It really is. But probably the moment that stands out the most was at that WrestleMania. On that, they didn't use us for any of the entrances or anything on that second day. So we were pretty much just walking around in our suits all day, just kind of hanging out catering and trying to stay out of the way, because like, it's busy. You can't just go up in Gorilla and like see what's going on. There's places like we're not supposed to go, we're not allowed to go. So for the most part, we're just trying to stay out of the way and just seeing how everything works. And if they need us, they'll get us. They know where to find us in catering or wherever. Well, it comes to the very end of the day, and like, we've been sitting in catering for all these hours, staying out of everyone's way, and it's like the final match is about to go on. So they have, Cena versus Cody for the championship. And at that time, they're like, okay, you guys can come stand in the side tunnel and kind of watch from this side of the entranceway, right there. And I'm walking to where we're going to be placed, and I'm in front of everyone, and I turn the corner. And as I turn the corner, you know how you like kind of see something out of the corner of your eye, like you notice it, and then you look away, and then you're like, oh God, what did I just see? And then you look back.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, what I saw when I turned that corner was Stone Cold Steve Austin about 3-4 feet away from me on his quad that he's about to go out. You kind of like see it, you look away, and then I see it. He looks right at me, his music hits, and he takes off. So,
I love it.
You hear that glass shatter. Like, I'm looking him in the face. We're both looking at each other. Glass shatters. He goes. Like,
Badass.
that's probably the coolest moment. Like, I didn't even see like what he did out there, so I didn't know he like crashed into some stuff a little bit into it. Because like, I was just like, in the moment, we're like, oh wow, like, I've never seen him up in person. Didn't even know he was there. Glass shatters as I turn the corner, and he's taken off. I'm like, that was a cool moment, even though it was just a slight little thing. It's not like he remembers looking me in the face before he takes off, but like, I remember it because I was the noob that just saw that. So that was a pretty cool moment.
It's definitely something that'll stick out for you for the rest of your life. You'll never forget locking eyes with Austin right before the glass shatters. That's a once in a lifetime moment, if you ask me.
Yeah, seeing those little beady eyes looking me eye to eye.
Yeah, just while we're talking about that's a bit of a fan experience if you think about it.
Yeah.
Even though you're behind the scenes, it's a bit of a fan experience. It's something that I'm sure for you really maybe brought you back to maybe even being a child.
Yes.
So leading into that leads me to my first question. Well, usually my first question. Um, how did you find professional wrestling, and what about the sport or the sports entertainment aspect of it made you fall in love with it?
Well, you could say I found it by accident, but I like to say that I found it by luck,
Okay.
because I've been so lucky and fortunate to have found something that like I'm really passionate about, and I found it pretty young. Um, it kind of goes back to I was probably like 5 years old, I want to say, and my parents, they just had gotten a new TV downstairs, so they gave us their old big box TV upstairs. We got to go set it on the floor, and like we 5, 6, 7 years old with my brothers, like we don't know how to do much with the TV or like when shows are on. This is the late '90s, so like we don't know a ton, but we're flipping through channels and we see Monday Night Raw. Raw is war, and I think the first thing I recall seeing is The Rock with that like cage background, and it says Raw is war, and he's doing
Mhm.
like the that promo where he was behaving like he was the Undertaker and maybe Stone Cold or Rikishi, like all these people for that big like Hell in a Cell match they were all going to have. It was like that promo was the
Okay.
first thing I remember seeing. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And you see a couple of matches and you're a kid and you're like so excited to see that. Well, again, we were kids and we didn't pay attention enough to like know when it was going to be on again. So we didn't like every week sit down and watch it. We would just be flipping through channels once in a while, and then we would see it, because we didn't watch TV at the same time every night. Our parents liked to have us like playing outside and doing like more active
Yeah.
things. So I kind of saw glimpses of it when I was pretty young. But then as I get a little bit older, I think I was about 11 years old. My brothers were off at football practice, and I tried football, but like it really wasn't for me. So I was kind of just at home sitting around, and again flipping through the channels, and I see Friday Night SmackDown again. I'm like, oh, I found it! Like the thing I haven't seen in like 4 or 5 years. I forgot about it, and yet I found it again and instantly. I'm seeing John Cena standing on top of this table. It must have been 2006, doing his little rap gimmick to whoever's in the ring. And I'm like, I found it again. This is fantastic. I started watching regularly on SmackDown because that's the show that I had found at the time, and then got into watching Raw. And like ever since I was about 11 years old, I've been watching it consistently. Since that time. And like it's the thing that captured me that you asked about was like what really brought me to it. It's not necessarily like the athleticism and all like the looks and all that stuff. To me, it's the stories. I love stories. When I used to go to my grandma's house, she lived, her mother was right next door, and I'd like kind of go over to visit my great grandma. And every time I went over, she would sit me down on the bench outside and tell me all these fairy tale stories. The Three Little Pigs and Goldilocks. Just like I love stories as I was growing up. And then when you watch wrestling, it's stories in action. So like to me, that's the thing that captivated me is the stories. And the first story that really stood out to me was actually John Cena versus the Great Khali. Because
Okay.
a simple fact you should know about me and my family is they call me the runt. I'm 6 feet, 250 pounds, and I am by far the smallest person out of all my brothers.
That's crazy.
I have three brothers. They are giants compared to me. You know, Even my little brother, he's 5 years younger. He's like, I want to say 6 inches taller than me and like 80 pounds heavier, and
Gosh.
he's not even the biggest. So, like, I grew up in the land of giants, and we all got along, my brothers, like, we're cordial and fun and stuff. Like, my dad always had the rule of, like, brothers don't fight, so we always stand together. But still, like, that was my life. You have, like, little arguments with your brother, and you're looking around, and, like, for me, I have to look up to all these three brothers standing around me. So when I saw John Cena facing Great Khali and he couldn't win, and then finally gets him up on the shoulders and throws him off the crane for that first ever fu that he did to him. Like, to me, that story really stood out because I could still be the small, strong guy and get over on the big giants. I could be David to the Goliaths.
I
So
like it.
that's what captivated me the most about wrestling is specifically that story, but overall, just the stories that we tell.
Okay. Uh, who were some of your favorites growing up that maybe later on you'd go to take inspiration from?
Uh, my favorite growing up was John Cena.
Okay.
But looking back, which I do a lot of looking back now more than anything, more so just to learn, because yeah, you can see the product today and learn from that, but also a lot of times what they used to do, you can make new again. So when I'm looking back, to me, Triple H actually turns out to be my favorite because every time Triple H is out there, something cool happens. Like
Guaranteed.
I love the John Cena story. I love the look, the character, everything about John Cena. But as far as like wrestling ability and what I want to take away, it Triple H to me is the one I try to emulate the most. I also do a lot of similar moves to like Goldberg, but that's me again looking back. At the time, I never knew what WCW was, or I didn't really see Goldberg until I looked back. So I take a little bit from him just because his moves kind of fit the style I'd like to do. I take a little bit from Batista. Like to me, it's the big power guys, the big power moves are the things that I like to do. Rather
Okay.
than doing the grappling on the ground and things. I like to really do the big hard hitting things. The spine busters, not so much a spear, but like the big power bombs, like the big impactful moves. Those are the things that I really liked, so I like to do them.
So my question is, you've kind of let us know the whole family's bigger individuals. You are a massive human being, to say the least. From I'm six, I mean I'm 5'6", 100 pounds, so you double me almost. So just to put it in perspective, what does somebody like your size? How does somebody like that get into the world of martial arts?
Well, martial arts was the first thing I actually got into. I got into
Okay,
martial arts when I was, 9 years old.
okay,
I
so you was
started with
young.
Taekwondo for a couple of years, and then I moved on to a traditional Korean martial art called Kuksowan, which is a little bit similar to that. You have old school like forms and weapons and sparring, and family martial art. Something for everybody. It's not like the MMA that everyone's like doing today.
Yeah.
It's I really like the traditional because I also liked martial art movies, watching Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and Jet Li, and all those like cool movies. Like I love that stuff. So um, I got into martial arts first, and then as I fell into love with professional wrestling, then I wanted to be like big and strong so I could lift up the giants. Squats are my favorite exercise at the gym because I want to have strong legs to be able to lift up the giants like John Cena did. You know, so I started with actually being into martial arts. I was doing that for 20 years. And then over time, I also got into powerlifting when I was about, I'd always lifted heavy, but really around 16 is when I actually got into powerlifting. But I started lifting weights a little bit before that. But I mean, I did powerlifting for 10 years too, because again, I wanted to build myself up to be big and strong, to be just like the wrestlers. When I would do martial arts, we would do demonstrations, and I love doing demonstrations because to me, that was similar to doing a match, just like they do on TV. So like I would take inspiration from that, and like when I would do martial arts tournaments, I would always get motivated by watching either the Rocky movies because I love the Rocky movies, the story that it has, or I'd watch or see pro wrestling, highlights or matches and things that like really inspired me, and that would be my motivation for when I'm out in the ring doing my martial arts and matches and things. So
I like
martial arts found me first, and then I developed into professional wrestling because where I was growing up in like a small town in the mountains, there were no wrestling schools. There was nothing around. I would have to move to a different city, and my family wasn't poor, but we certainly weren't rich. Like we didn't really have the money to like keep moving around and stuff. And I wanted to get through college before I really left because like I needed to I wanted to be the first of my brothers in the family to get a degree. So I made sure I accomplished that first. And then as soon as I could, the first chance I got, I moved down here to San Diego so I could start professional wrestling. But it was a long process to get there. But everything I was doing in the meantime was preparing me for it because I wanted to be ready when the opportunity came.
absolutely. So, like, just hearing about your background in martial arts and then your background in powerlifting, Do you think that helped prepare you for what you'd ultimately end up going to do in training for professional wrestling?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone should do martial arts, especially at a young age, just to get like the foot coordination, being able to move your body through space. Or, I mean, maybe not martial arts, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe it's like wrestling or, I mean, football if you want. Any sport, you just need all like kids and people growing up, they need like an athletic background that they can then use for professional wrestling. You need something because like if you're just sitting on the couch all the time and hoping and dreaming, that doesn't really get you anywhere.
No.
You have to like push yourself with something and have some competition and build coordination and everything. So yes, it helped me. And then also lifting weights, like when I first got into professional wrestling, I was astonished about how many people don't regularly work out or go to the gym. Like I couldn't believe I thought that was just part of it. That's why I did it for 10 years before I started, professional wrestling at all. It's like I thought this is what we needed to do. Like if you want to be at a high level, you do. You need to make, going to the gym, being in shape, looking good, part of it because this is an aesthetic business. It's just as much about your looks as it is about your abilities. So that's an important thing too that everyone should be doing is like building some form of strength and coordination through whatever you're doing.
So, like, what advice would you give to maybe a young up and comer, young guy or girl getting into this business that maybe isn't taking them steps to get into the gym and to, I mean, even try an extracurricular like martial arts? Like, what advice would you give them to motivate them to maybe get them in the right position?
Well, it's hard for me to force anyone to do anything, but you can't tell me this is your dream and not do everything you can to make it. Like so many people say, "Oh, I dream of doing this and that," but then they're not really applying themselves the way that they need to. So I just gave you the information you need. You need to hit the gym hard, not just go in there and sometimes lift some weights. Like if you want to be a professional wrestler, you need to look like a professional wrestler. You need to work out for it. You need to train for it. So you have to really apply yourself if this is what you want. If it's not what you want, that's okay. Go do something else. You could be a fan. Everyone loves professional wrestling, so that's fine. But if you really want to do something with this, you have to apply yourself. You have to have the self discipline. Like there's so many days where like I got 2 hours of sleep, and yet I'm going to go to the gym because I'm disciplined and I need to do that. I know that's just part of what it is being a professional wrestler. There's no complaints. There's coffee, and go get your stuff done. Like you have to really apply yourself to be able to do this. So don't wait. That's
Okay.
the other thing. Is a lot of times people will wait. They'll wait until they're in shape. They'll wait until they think they're ready. Don't wait. It takes a long time to get good at professional wrestling. No one picks it up just like that. It takes time. So do everything at once. If you need to join a martial art and professional wrestling school at the same time, fine. You know, go to the gym on top of that. Yes, do everything you can to make it right now. Don't wait because some people, it takes them 10 years to really get good and have, the bigger companies look at them. Would you rather start that 10 years when you're 23 or 33? You know?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you spoke earlier about, going through school, even getting a degree. And then is that when you started your training, or did you start somewhere in the middle of that?
I wish. Let's say that. So I got my degree when I was 25. I got a degree in exercise science from Sac State. And I was trying to really apply that degree to make enough money to be able to move somewhere that did have a professional wrestling school. Because I knew where the schools were. They're, out the coastline. I was up in the mountains. And I just really was trying to make enough money so I could move. Because again, my family wasn't rich. We weren't poor, but like, uh, we have a lot of mouths to feed. Let's say that. So, and I was paying for the college all myself. I got to stay at home with my family because it wasn't too far from where we live. But on top of that, like I'm paying for everything. I still have debt from college. So that's kind of the hard part as well of getting into it is like the finances. Not everyone has the finances to really do it, but you got to kind of get that stuff in order so you can apply yourself to pro wrestling. Um, it it wasn't until I was 29. I moved down here to San Diego with my fiance when she started going. She transferred to UC San Diego. And when she moved down here, obviously I'm coming, because that's where all the pro wrestling schools are. So we moved down here together. And then the first chance that I got, I was looking around at the different schools that are down here, and I found SoCal Pro Wrestling. It's up in San Marcos, so it's about 30 minutes above San Diego, but close enough. And they had a beginner's tryout. The first chance I had, I went to that beginner's tryout and went every single day that they had training for the first 2 years that I was here. I still try to go as often as possible if I'm not out at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood doing a show there, like doing a podcast or something else that I got booked for. But yeah, I found that and I started wrestling training as soon as I could. It just happened to be when I was 29 years old, 4 years later than I really wished. But yeah, I had always tried. Like when they had in 2015 the what they call it, the Tough Enough. You send in the video for the
Yeah.
Tough Enough. I sent a video in for that too. It wasn't very
Okay.
good, but I tried.
It was
Like
something.
yeah, a lot of people like they didn't like know what to send in. So like they'd have like the weird creepy videos where they're not really saying anything. They just have like their hood over their face and they're trying to be, like a dark character like Undertaker. Or they'd be like people that just make a joke out of it, sort of. But like I didn't really know what to put in either. So I just told them about my accomplishments and kind of yelled at the camera a little bit too much. And then, I never really heard back. But I really wish that would have happened, because then I would have been in it, 10 something years ago.
So, like, just out of curiosity, and I've found that this question sometimes is fun to reflect. Looking back at your training and the training process, what were some of the things that you struggled with, and then what were some of the things that maybe came to you easier?
Hmm. Uh, so the thing that I still struggle with this a bit is really kind of letting myself out there, like showing more of your personality,
Okay.
like it's taken about 3 years for me to really be comfortable. Like this podcast, very comfortable on this, but like the one I did 2 years ago when I was first starting out still, like I was very timid about it, like I was worried and stressed, I worried about what I was going to say. So like it kind of goes back to my martial art days. Like we don't talk a lot in martial arts, we're
Mm.
very humble and calm, and that's the way I grew up, and that's the way I really like to be. Is a very respectful, kind person. But then when you come into pro wrestling, you kind of have to have an ego and arrogance about you, and that's the thing that's really hard for me to get out. It's like when I'm working as a heel, like that's the hardest thing for me. I know I'm usually working as a heel because, as it turns out, I'm Goliath compared to all the Davids that tend to be around here. So it's hard for the big guy to be, the face. I always want to be face, but it turns out I'm heel. But yeah, like we don't say a lot, like I joke with everyone, like I always wanted to be Rocky, but it turns out I'm Drago. I have 3 lines in a movie. Like I don't have a lot to say because I don't like being mean to people. I don't like being, the person that puts them down. That's what I had grown up, is a lot of like people bullying me, just like most of us did. So I always hate to be that cocky, arrogant person. So that's the hardest thing for me to do, is really release my personality and put it out there in a way that people really believe it, because it's not always me, you know. Being a good person and being helpful to people, that's me. That's more of who I like to be, which is why I'd love to be a face, because I can present a little bit more sort of like this. So that's kind of the hard thing. But like as far as what was easy, it's I was pretty coordinated again from all the martial arts and strong from the powerlifting. So picking up the moves was no problem. Doing the physical, actual movements of things, that's no big deal. But that's only half of really what we do, if not just a third. Because again, the storytelling, that part of it is a big part, and how you present yourself. Your character. That's that's one of the hardest parts. That's a whole other half that I struggled with. I didn't really. I knew who I was as a person, but I didn't know how to present who I was to the world.
Okay. So you earlier you mentioned starting your process with SoCal Pro. How important would you say they've been so far to your career? And what's it like for you now to go and say, to look back and maybe reflect and see the journey you've taken all the way up to being their world champion?
It was critical. It was absolutely critical that I went to SoCal Pro. I didn't know it at the time. I knew that when I was looking at different promotions and schools around me, that I had a couple of different options. Even though that was the one that was actually farthest away, to me, it felt right. And I don't even recall what exactly it was, but there's something that just kind of like a feeling that says, hey, this is the place that you should be. And looking back, it's exactly right. Like that's the place that I was meant to be. You know, just like John Cena said one time in a promo, like he was born to be in the WWE. Well, I was born to start at SoCal Pro and make it to the WWE because they have really nurtured me into what I am today. Like they've guided me. They've always been good to me and pushed me and really helped. You know, I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for them. Like the whole reason I got a WWE tryout match and got recognized so I could do all these backstage extra things was because of SoCal Pro. You know, they're the ones that reached out and got me on that show because they saw that I was ready, and then they went and reached out to their contacts and gave me that opportunity. So like, I don't think I would be nearly as far if it wasn't for SoCal Pro and all they've taught me and all they've done for me. You know, the first goal I set for myself in professional wrestling was to become SoCal Pro Heavyweight Champion. I accomplished that this year, so I am their champion now. But like, it was hard. Like I had been working for that for a long time. Like it took 3 years to get that title. You know, um, so they're not just handing things away. Like it's hard thing to accomplish. You know, it's one of the most prestigious shows that we have in all of SoCal. You know, one of the hardest ones to get on because they really care about the quality of wrestlers and the quality of matches. Not that other places don't, but like um, to them, it's like they're very specific about what they like.
So, like reflecting on that journey, what was the hardest part about making it from the bottom of the card to the top of the card?
Again, it comes to my character. Like, you know, I was fine in the ring, but like I wasn't really connecting with people as much as I should have been, you know, because it's hard for me to put my arrogance and attitude out there as a heel and connect with people. And um, yeah, that's the thing. Is this took me a while to connect, you know, and they kept giving me ideas and guidance, and I was trying those different things, and it took quite a while for me to really get to where people they saw what I was doing physically, and they're like, yeah, you look great, you're moving great, but like nobody really cares. So it took me a while to get people to care, and then once they did, now it feels like there's a rocket ship on me.
Well, with that rocket ship attached comes the championship win. What was that day like for you? And how were you feeling, both mentally, emotionally, physically going into and coming out of that match?
Well, like I said, that was the first major accomplishment I set for myself in pro wrestling was to become their champion, and I didn't know that it was going to happen until like that day, because
Okay.
they don't let people know ahead of time because they want everyone to promote the matches the same, whether you're winning or losing. So I didn't know until it was that day, and usually you don't know until you know maybe an hour before you actually even go out there. So I was actually scheduled for a whole different match that day. You know, like I had
Okay.
two. I actually had two matches that day. I had I think it was either a 10 or 20 man rumble for a contract. And I kind of had an idea of like what they wanted me to do was like win the contract, and then maybe the next show I cashed it in and get that. But like I wasn't sure it was going to be that day. Well, turns out it was that day. They wanted me to win and cash it in that night. So I didn't have not that I really get nervous, but I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. It was just, hey, go do this match and then come back here because you're doing the next one too, and cash it in. So uh, I'm also not really one to get nervous before things anyway. Like I care a lot, I care a lot. It means a lot. But again, going back to martial arts, we don't have time to be nervous. We have time to react.
Hmm.
So when I should be getting nervous, instead I get focused. Like when I'm right about to go through that curtain and I'm standing there, I'm just getting really focused. I'm not getting jitters. I've never gotten like nervous about what I'm about to go do because I know what I'm going to do. I just have to go and focus and do it. So, if anything, I got really focused that day. It's like they told me what the task was, and I laid out in my head what I was thinking about how I was going to approach it, and then uh, went and did it.
Okay. So, you've been champion for how long now? Sorry,
That was since April. Yeah,
April.
yeah,
Okay.
since April.
What's been your favorite defense or moment with the championship?
Well, um, the one that meant the most, I don't know if it was my favorite because there's a little bit of a sad moment, was it was title versus career, me
Mhm.
versus Judiz. And Judiz, he was, well, I mean, you could even say he is still, even though he's retired now. He's the measuring stick that everyone was compared to. Like, he was the guy that was out there, you know, really accomplishing a lot. He'd been on AEW Dark quite a few times and a lot of stuff with AEW. He's the guy that was so close to a contract so many times. He's always out there. He was absolutely hands down the best in all of SoCal, if not, all of California. Like he was the man that everyone wanted to be. He was so good and smooth and had looked great, great character. Like he was the guy that was doing it, that was making it. So everyone was looking up to him. And then out of all the people he could have chosen to essentially pass the torch or to have his retirement match with, uh, he chose me. So uh, that was a title defense, and I was really honored to do that. But then again, it was a hard day because again, he was one of my coaches. He was one of the people that I really looked up to, and not only was he retiring from professional wrestling, he was moving away. So it just everyone else, got to kind of like feel those feels with him. Whereas for me, I had to be the asshole that went out there and, beat him up and then step back through the curtain and just kind of had to wait there where everyone else was out there within the ring and saying goodbye to him. Like I had to be the person to take it all away, you know. And I know it's all just like stories and it's just something we're telling, but that was a hard story to tell. I'll just say that. But it was
Okay.
also the one that meant the most to me, you know. Um, yeah, that was my moment.
Did you get to have a moment with him afterwards?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, Julius is always one. He never leaves without having a good conversation with everyone and really letting them know what he's thinking, what he feels, the tips he has for you, and like everything. Like yes, we certainly had a moment, and I hope we have another one in the future. I know he's retired from wrestling, but I hope at least um, he told me I need to make it, so I'm doing my best to make it, and I hope to have him come to a show and see him proud of me.
Definitely. Definitely. So, I mean, on this podcast, we've talked about you making it here and there. Like we've mentioned, maybe your journey is ultimately going to lead you into the WWE. Let's say when you make it, what are some of those dream match scenarios that you'd like to have, whether it's in NXT or Raw or SmackDown? Like, who who do you want to go up against before it's maybe their time to hang up the boots, or however you want to put it?
I don't have a who, I have a what.
Okay.
I, for me, I don't have dream scenarios with people. It's with goals or accomplishments. And my first goal is to become SoCal Pro Heavyweight Champion. My next goal is to get a contract, a WWE contract, and then after that, I want to be significant. And to me, being significant means facing for the WWE Championship. Like that,
Okay.
that's the dream. So whoever's holding it, that's what the match I want. That's the title I want. That's the place I want to be. Is I want to be WWE champion someday. So when I aim for goals. I don't just aim for the one I think I can do and the easy one. I aim for the highest tower on the tallest peak. So I want to be WWE champion. I want to have a WWE title match. I don't care who it's against, where it's at. That's what I want.
Okay. So, I mean, we've spoke about the goal to go to WWE. Where else would you like to work in the future that you maybe haven't had the chance to? Whether it's a location, a company, anything like that.
Tons of places. Right now, I'm trying to get to Canada for any show. I'd love to wrestle in Canada. Japan, I'd love to wrestle in Japan. I've already been to Mexico. I hope to do a couple more matches down there pretty soon, actually, maybe for the Crash or uh, some places down there, maybe even AAA. Who knows? Wink, wink. Then, as far as like U.S. based, MLW would be a great place to have a match on. TNA would be a great place not only have a match but have a career. I
Yeah.
also loved watching TNA when I was growing up too, because I got into that during the AJ Styles and Kurt Angle era. So I mean, TNA is a
Mm.
great place. Of course, AEW. They offer me something. I would take that immediately. I mean, AEW. I've been backstage for them a couple of times too and done some extra work. I have some friends there in AEW, so I would love to go to AEW and get a contract, even if that's long term or short term. Like I'd love to be able to do a match there. Ring of Honor, of course NXT, WWE. I'd love all those places, but I want all the major brands, the major names, the major places. That's what I want. Canada, Japan, MLW, AEW, Ring of Honor, WWE, TNA. Anybody you want me? I'm ready.
I like it. I like it a lot. A couple more questions, then I'm gonna let
Yeah,
you go.
sure.
One, we are at the end of 2025. We got a month and some change left. Um, Moving into 2026, you've mentioned you're very goal oriented. What goals have you set for yourself to achieve by the end of 2026?
Well, the biggest ones, the ones I kind of just said, is like those are the places I want to go. I know that
Okay.
in Canada, I'm trying to get one. I think within the first, hopefully January, but if not January, at least by March, I should have a match up in Canada and maybe even a couple. We're going to try to see if we can run a program up there. Uh, be a regular on the Crash down in Tijuana or Mexico. That would be certainly a good thing. And I definitely want to get over to Japan, hopefully regularly, hopefully for a couple of matches, not just a one off. But on top of that, of course, wrestling for MLW, like I said, wrestling for TNA. I'm reaching out to them. I've sent a couple of emails. We'll see, when they get back to me, if they get back to me. Also, even just like GCW, I'll be at GCW on December 6th helping out, and hopefully they put me on the card and I get an opportunity to show them what I could do as well. And then there's Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I would really like to be a champion for Championship Wrestling for Hollywood. Like, I've been there, I've been established at this point. I've racked up some wins, and they're a great production. They're TV production. They are produced and broadcast all over the U.S. I don't remember how many channels. I think it's like 80, 90 channels, but all over the U.S. Like tons of people see that show. So I would love to be a champion for Championship Wrestling and all of the United Wrestling Network. They have Memphis Wrestling, they have Gotham Wrestling now. I think Arizona's coming back. They have one going to happen in Oakland. Like they have all these connections. I would love to be a champion for them, as well as any place. If you got a title, I want it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think we're gonna have to get you up here in Chicago then.
Absolutely, yeah. Is CM Punk available? I'll go against him.
Look, I'd pay to see it. I'd pay to see it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Earlier, just to end on a fun note, earlier you spoke heavily about the influence and the fandom you had for John Cena. Um, just looking at this last year, I mean, he's only got two more dates left. What's been your reaction to what has happened so far in the retirement run, and what do you want to see out of the last two dates?
Well, I would love to have a match with him. That's what I'd love to see. His last two dates. First of all, like to me, growing up, I was dreaming I'd be the one to retire him, but I guess a little bit too late for that, unfortunately. Uh, well, it's been a great reflection. Like he kind of has a lot of callbacks in his matches and things like he's paying respect to a lot of people, and it's just been nice to see that he's not making it all about him, which
Hmm.
I never thought he really would, but like he's doing as much as he can to give back, and that's what we really like to see. Is like the person that's on the way out, you're giving back to as many people as you can, and that's what it seems like he's doing. So that's a great thing to see. Um, but really, I don't want to say I'm looking forward to his retirement, but I'm looking forward to what he does next because I'm really hoping that he becomes a producer for
Hmm.
WWE and he is able to teach me when I'm there like how to tell stories the way he told stories. So that's actually something I'm looking forward to, even though I'm not looking forward to him being out of the ring. I am looking forward to learning still from him because I don't want to see him go away. But I'm excited for that next process that I'm sure he's a little excited about as well. Whether it's maybe we don't see him for a little bit, but I really hope he comes back to help and teach a little bit more.
Absolutely. I think it'd be interesting seeing what role he goes in next. I mean, I'm sure he's not done in Hollywood by any means. But like just seeing what that next step for him in wrestling looks like, because he's said he's not done in wrestling, he's just done in the ring. So like
Yes.
whether that's producing, whether that's an on-screen role, like who knows, like Cena as GM would be interesting
Yeah, that's what I
because
was thinking. Is maybe he's going to be GM.
something there's so many routes you could take. And just seeing, I think a producer or a coach would probably be the best like idea, I guess. I mean, if we're looking at it, especially training young talent, like you said yourself, if you make it up there, when you make it up there,
When
I'm
it's always a win.
it's always a win. When you make it up there, like who else to teach you than the 17-time world champion? Like,
Absolutely.
um, so like I guess one more like John Cena related question
Yeah,
before you go. There's been a tournament announced, dwindling down on who's gonna be the final opponent. Who do you want it to be?
me. I already
I
said
mean,
that. I want it to be me.
yeah,
Okay.
in the
All right.
tournament.
Uh, in reality, who do I think it should be? Um, I really loved the idea of it being Kurt Angle. I know that Kurt Angle said that he can't do it, like he can't do it. But I really would like to see that. I don't remember if they have any more open slots as to who it could be. But even if he, windles his way in there somehow, like I would have loved to see that. But if
Okay.
it's not going to be Kurt Angle, it I almost think it should be like a no-name person, like someone we're not even thinking of,
Okay.
someone that he can really pass the torch to and really instantly bring up. Because like I don't know, let's say he goes against Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar doesn't need it. Maybe he goes against Gunther. Gunther doesn't need it. Yeah, sure, it's great that they'd have great matches with him and everything, but they don't need it. We he should hopefully like try to really elevate someone almost from nothing up to like, wow, this is the person we should look at next. Very
Yeah.
much, again, I love the Rocky movies, very much like a Rocky story. And again, I'm the perfect guy for it, just saying. But someone that's a seemingly no name gets up there and gets a shot with the greatest of all time, gets to learn actually in the ring with him for his final show. I think that is what it should be. Is someone he can severely pass the torch to and instantly make a huge name.
Okay. So, I mean, just throwing it out here, as we were recording this, you were at the tapings where the one spot left, the one mystery, spots left. So you could be in it. You could just be not telling us. We'll have to wait and see.
If I knew, I'd let somebody know. I wish. Yeah.
Matthias, thank you so much for this. Was a great time. I can't wait to see what you do next in professional wrestling, and I can't wait to have another conversation with you here on the I Love Wrestling podcast.
Of course, I'd love to be back on again. Make sure everybody, if you can, follow me at Mathias Wrestles on all my social media. I would love to help boost up that count and show you all the stuff that I'm doing coming up because there's always more down the line. Thank you very much for having me, and it's been an honor.
I will leave this at see you next time, Matthias.